8, 5. What was it? 8, 2, 1, 0.
This is episode number 424 of WPwatercooler, staging the future for WordPress FSE.
Feeling FSE.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
I'm Say Reed at Say Reed Media on all the things, especially Twitter, particularly Twitter.
And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg, aka Post Formats Malone, back at it again.
And you can go check us out over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you want to watch us, like you're probably doing now, you can watch us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. We're all over the place. If it plays video, then we're probably there. We're probably there.
And if it doesn't play video, we're there too.
So we swapped out Steve for 2 guests. It takes 2 guests to swap out Steve.
Steve requires 2. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. It's 2 for 1 day. How about that?
It's 2 for 1 day. Exactly.
There we go.
So we have Daniel and we have Vikas on the show. And we've had Daniel on the show before, but I'm going to have you guys just do a quick little intro of yourselves, just so people know who you are and all that. Especially people that are just listening. You know, it's kind of, they have to build that theater of the mind real fast. So Daniel, tell us about yourself.
I think this is my 3rd time on here, and every time I come on I have a different project I'm working on, so
hey,
who knows?
That tells me more about you than us.
Yeah, right. And he keeps naming them these like small things. I mean, come on, Tidy Press. Oh, okay, it's Tidy.
I know. Well, that is one project. So Tiny Press email is one of the projects. But no, I'm the newly promoted team leader at Pinellas County Government. But most folks know me from Twitter, probably. One of the lead WordPress community organizers on the Twitter community on there for WordPress. And I'm also part of the WordCamp US 2022 photo team. So anyone go to WordCamp US will see me out there. Yeah. And my background's more in development and project management.
Very cool. Vikas, how about you? Tell us about yourself.
Hey, I come from Bangalore, India, and I do own a plugin theme shop. And recently, I don't know a lot of, maybe not a lot, but some people know that I am the founder of InstaWP. So that is something I'm working very, very closely nowadays. Yeah, that's about me.
Awesome.
And tell us, Vikas, what is InstaWP?
InstaWP in one word is a quick launcher for WordPress. If you need a WordPress, an instant dose of WordPress today, you can go on Insta and get a site. Right?
Just load up that and you're just like, give me.
Right.
It's an IV drip of WordPress is what it is what you're saying. Right. Just come hook it up.
Right, cool. Exactly.
Very cool. So today we're talking about staging, and not only just staging, but like what is the future of staging for sites that are running WordPress with full site editor. And towards the end of last week's show, we were talking, and I was like, how in the heck are you supposed to like stage a site like this and actually be able to do
anything on your live site?
Yeah. We call it cowboy coding, but the idea of just like just kind of shooting from the hip. So
I think, you know what? Everything old is new again. Like I was thinking about this morning.
I know.
Like the 90s are really in, and I was thinking maybe that's just because like the style makers were like going through their parents' stuff like during the pandemic or something while they were at home. I don't know, but so all the 90s stuff is in. So maybe cowboy coding is good again, like because that used to be how you built sites. Like there wasn't like, there weren't staging sites. Like you could do a local build, and there was desktop server, which is like the one of the original like local spin ups that made it easy to do that, as opposed to like super complicated with your that's like I did that stuff back then, but it's like I blocked it all out of my memory.
Well,
there's like you had to do something with your thing, and there was like you had to go into your terminal and like change stuff. And it was like nightmares.
Varying vagrants.
Yes,
like
So
VVV.
awful.
VVV, which is just a W. Like, when you look at it, or two W's.
It looks like a saw, which is you're cutting yourself every time you use it. No offense.
Oh, there you go.
To the
So
maintainer,
staging
but,
used to not exist, right? And then it
Yeah.
was like you stage or die, right? Like you stage or you're so amateur, right? And then all sorts of and then managed hosting came along and built-in staging sites. Thank you, WP Engine, DreamPress.
Yeah.
Came along and made it so easy to do staging sites. I haven't used GoDaddy for a client site in a long time, but I'm assuming that they've probably developed some sort of staging instance as well. I don't actually know this for a fact, but anyway, I'm just trying to trace it out. Like it hasn't always been there, so now it's a thing, right?
Mhm.
And now you can't switch from I don't know what we're calling like pre-full site editing sites, right? Not regular, right? Like what do you call that?
Classic.
Hybrid.
Classic.
No, it's not classic because then that's tiny MCE. But we have a nomenclature problem.
Light diet.
Light. We could just call it BFSE, like BFSE and I don't know what the other one is. AFSE or something.
Transitional.
Anyway, once someone out there figure that out and let us know, tweet us about it, what we should call it. Maybe we should do a poll. But anyway, in the before FSE, if you can't convert from a before FSE site to an FSE site and preview it, we've lost that live preview feature. It's not compatible with the structure at all. So this is really something that is to me a big issue, because for the layperson who doesn't have a developer or someone who's managing their site for them to be able to convert over, they've probably not even heard of a staging site. They've just been using their WordPress for the last 5-10 years or whatever, and they're suddenly like, oh, I'm just gonna switch, bleep. And then like literally the customizer's gone, like everything that they've ever known how to work on their site is now gone and replaced with a completely different UI. So to me, that means, okay, maybe that's doable and that's already a big cliff to jump off of, but you can't do that in a like, oh, I'm going to take my website down for like 5 minutes and switch it over and then pop it back up live. Like that's not possible. It takes Sabrina, a local person, tweeted from, not local, but from Ukraine, actually, really not local. She tweeted the other day that she was like, oh, I'll just update my FSE site. And then she's like, 1 week later, I have a header, maybe.
1 week later, in 5 different sets of JavaScript errors later, you finally resolved the issue and were able to add that navigation up there. Yeah.
I think
all that being said, staging sites are essential at this point.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting, an interesting limbo. One is, we're like, what are we? Maybe like 60%, 70% into FSE actually being where it would be usable for most folks. I mean, I don't think it's definitely not 90% or something. I think everyone agrees it's
not there, wherever there is.
So we're into that. So we're also trying to figure out that workflow of what that looks like. And the reality that, we might put it on the staging environment of a host, but the problem is that's usually used, at least for most of the folks I work with, staging environments used to put in content and play around with it before they even put it on to the regular site. Like they're not even putting it on the production site first. They're actually putting it on staging and making sure everything's cool and looks good, and then they put it up there. They don't do the preview. They don't do drafts on live like that, because they want to be able to mess around with it and see what they can do.
Which audience is that? Like, which group of people would you say that is?
These are mostly content folks. So people that are like marketing,
marketing for other people.
Yeah, and marketing for like their organization,
company.
Their department. Yep.
But I think the thing is like that content that you just talked about, man, that content is a lot of stuff. Like FSE can be considered the content. Like really, like all those things kind of live in the database and they don't live in files. So it's not like you can go and do version control. And maybe even that part of that version control part of this, like, how do you even do that? How do you make a snapshot of your site so you can roll back FSE? Like, how do you even do that? Because like when you guys are doing this sort of thing of moving stuff into InstaWP or out of InstaWP, what's the solutions that you guys have kind of worked out in order to be able to even like make that part happen?
To me, I get a lot of requests about staging, and I not only the use case which we are discussing in this part. I get a lot of other use cases as well. For example, if a plugin author or the theme author is providing, let's say, tech support for a customer, and they want to quickly spin up a test site for that or the staging site for that customer without actually revealing a lot of stuff. So something like a partial staging is also a use case. So WordPress staging sites are always interesting to me, because when you create a staging site and then you make some changes to it, by that time production site will have some more changes by, let's say, a customer or a new order or a new post comment. Then how do you merge them together, right? There is no such functionality at this point. There are some solutions which are either incomplete or not maintained anymore,
or awkward.
so or awkward, right? Straight up.
You like do it this way, and then you like kind of do this, and
Right. So there is no standardized way, like a getified way of doing it. That will be my vision for next couple of months or couple of weeks of how we tackle that. Because what I've heard is, if we are able to tackle that, I think that will be one of the biggest milestone which we can achieve. So just imagine, like, you have a classic site, right? And then you want to create a FSE site for that, and you create a staging.
BFSE, we decided.
Right.
Just kidding.
BFSE site, right? So right, and it should be seamless, right? So what we are working on is a sync solution. So you install a InstaWP sync plugin on your production, and then you instantly sync partial or full or just a bare site from your production to Insta, and then you work something on it, maybe install a plugin, do something about it, and then push those changes which you just worked upon, right? So that will be our dream come true. So if that is possible, I think we will be in a really good condition. I have seen Shopify and Webflow kind of platforms. Even there, they don't provide a proper staging platforms, right? So if you have worked on that, you just go commando there, right? You just edit the live site, right? So
It's true.
right. So
just do it.
Yeah.
WordPress will be in better shape if we have that.
I mean, that's what I've actually always, that was one of the biggest parts there's so many reasons to recommend WordPress over like Squarespace or Wix, but that has also been one of those really big differences to me, is that you can, develop something and test something and even just restructure, redesign, rebuild an entire site, and then, basically remerge them together depending on the content issues. And you just cannot do that with Squarespace. You have to change something and then your whole site changes, and you can't. That's part of why I have been so kind of, I wouldn't say upset, but disappointed that we lost the live preview and that experience, because I feel like we worked so hard. We did not work so hard. I did no work for it, but like it came along and it was like, wow, it was such a big deal, this live preview and being able to test out and move your stuff around. That to me still feels like an advancement and something we should have kept, because that ability to preview stuff or even save changes while you're working on something and keep the live version, the existing version live on the site while you're saving drafts. It's actually a problem I ran into recently and had a plugin. I think you use it, Jason, PublishPress. Didn't you use PublishPress?
Oh,
At one point, yep.
Yeah, so the PublishPress has a plugin called PublishPress Revisions, and they get around that content, not content syncing, but like having a draft that needs to be approved and also keep the existing draft live on the site. And so they basically, I haven't gone into the plugin itself, but what I think they do is I think they tap into the revisions existing functionality and then
Yeah.
just pull out that data and kind of create like create a post editor from the data in the revision. It's
Yeah.
very fascinating. So you should check that out for your content syncing situation, because I thought that was a really unique direction to go in. It's not about drafts, but like hooking into revisions that's already in the database.
The thing I always ran into with that was the fact that some of the web hosts didn't support revisions. Like they just turned off revisions entirely. And you're like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, at least give me 5 to roll back from. But every, like, you know, you go and put a comma, then you put a period, then you capitalize something. You already spent through all 5 of them. And now you're like, oh, I lost all of my revisions. Great.
Yeah.
Cosper, you're going to say something. Sorry about that.
No, I think this is a really interesting problem to tackle, especially since we've seen in this space that there are people who kind of treat this like a holy grail or a silver bullet of having being able to sync content from one version of the site to the other, be that a local version of the site or in staging, however you choose to stage your site. I mean, I know that Delicious Brains had a product that they were working on that never got past the beta stage. And I mean, if Delicious Brains can't figure it out, like, and they're pretty good at this database stuff.
They're pretty good. Yes, they are. They got good stuff. I don't know.
Right. Seeing, WP Site Sync from desktop server now getting sunsetted. We had an episode about that not too long ago. I mean, WP Merge is still kicking around, and their pricing reflects that they're basically the only person in the field really right now that's doing anything. I think I checked while we were talking, and it's like 147 for a single site for a year to be able to like merge your content like that, and then 4 sites comes up to like 440 something.
Wow!
Like, whoa!
If you want to do this, you're gonna pay. Vikas is like, yeah, I know. I did that research.
The funny story, right? Last week I reached out to David, owner of WP Merge, and we had some interesting conversation about maybe merging the brand, or I don't know. There's a lot of possibility which I wanted to do with him, but eventually we figured out let's do a white labeling thing. But then eventually I figured out, why don't we just build it on our own, right? Because if it is built inside the platform without any dependencies, it will be much faster, right? And you can depend upon it. We can control over it. So that's what we are going to do, right? So if going back to what Cosper said about Delicious Brain, so they have an interesting post online where they talk about different solutions and the solution which they worked upon for this merging need, right? So I went through that post, and then it got me really excited about what is going on. And then again, WP Merge is the only solution on the market, right? So, and then so it's hilarious, right? You have to pay $147 for one site, and it should be built into WordPress is what my vision is, right? But yeah, let's see how it goes. But so after that post, I realized there is a solution called WortionPress. I don't know if you know about WortionPress.
Yeah.
So that's not being maintained anymore. So what we are doing is we are building on that solution. It's
cool.
It's the WordPress way. Fork it.
That's great. I mean, WortionPress, for those who don't know, it was actually incorporating Git, and it was very visual too in the back end. Like I love that. That's great.
They have a great solution. What it is right now, if we can just stabilize it for FSE, for like as I said earlier, exactly, right. So that is something. So just imagine having this inbuilt in all Insta sites. That will be
cool.
Something.
Sold. I'm in.
In the chat, Jim Hunter was talking about a solution called Breaknance, which
I've heard about that coming along. Didn't Cosper mention it and say there's enough page editors to save the world or something?
Yeah,
it's the new oxygen, basically.
Yeah, that's what. And the thing is like I like the fact that there are solutions that aren't tied to a page builder or aren't tied to an already established. You don't have to like allow other established solutions to exist.
Yeah, integration is the game.
Yeah.
Integration.
But when you
I thought it
build
was the
something,
90s.
yeah, it's like if Beaver Builder came around and said, "Hey, I want to do a versioning setup," it's like that. It's just I don't know. It doesn't. I'd much rather have something that just works on everything. And I love the fact that even something like InstaWP, where it's not even tied to the host. It's you can use any host and be able to still do this sort of thing. So those are the things that I'm looking for. Those things where it's just like it's not. If I make a quick decision to switch themes or switch entire theme ecosystems, or if I want to start using FSE today, I don't have to like relearn a bunch of stuff. The established things I've already been using, I can continue to use. I've already did that when since I'm not using Beaver Builder on a lot of my sites now, and I'm trying to force myself to use FSE. I'm having that same thing where it's just like, I'm already learning this solution of FSE. I want to continue to do it. And now if I start working with other people, I need to also be able to do, version, some type of version control and some type of way of staging it. So I think we're getting there. I think it's good that we're getting there.
But so I have a question. It's a slightly existential because I have to take it there, right? I warned you all. So I think that a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, at some WordCamp state of the something, I believe Matt said that his ultimate vision was that WordPress functioned more like Google Chrome, right? Where the back and I think we've moved to that version where the backend updates are much, we've got auto updates you can have. And it's just kind of constantly updating, and it's not like, oh, here's 5.0 and everything changes, whatever. It's like constant iterations. And then I don't remember where it was talked about, but I do know that I think it's in the Gutenberg stuff that eventually, or maybe it's in the Gutenberg timeline plan, that eventually the idea is to get to a Google Docs kind of simultaneous like editing kind of situation, right? So given that, and then also given the kind of ubiquitousness within the admin of full site editing, like it's just, here, it's a header. It's like everything nothing becomes very solid, right? You can kind of change everything. It's very interchangeable. And I feel like you could have a lot of different versions of content on your site with that. But maybe going in that direction, a whole staging site is like going to go the way of the dodo bird, the whole other site is like not going to be a thing. Like maybe instead there'll be like staging pages or, a staging section, because if you're over here editing a template part and a site that, your navigation block live on your production server, but it doesn't change the front page because you can have different blocks of those on every page, right? You can have different navigation headers. So you just leave that one on while you're playing with the other one. And maybe even show people different versions that you're saving and whatever. So if we're moving in that direction, then maybe staging becomes obsolete because the staging is baked in to the site itself.
If that's the case, I still see InstaWP and Vikas's solution as this thing where, my personal site for years, I've just, any new plugin that comes along, any new theme that comes along, I'm just like, ooh, I want to try that. And then immediately I throw it up on my personal site. And I have to go through occasionally and get rid of like orphan tables and other things like that, where it's just like, I've got all these records.
Like, what was this database? Ew.
Yeah.
What was this plugin? Oh.
So I think that there will be a need for staging, but I think that it might shift to, I want to try this plugin out. I know that InstaWP makes it really easy to try out something like Newsletter Glue, where you click a button and, like, oh, I want to see, maybe somebody has a Substack or some sort of mailing list and goes, you know what, I want to just integrate that into my site. Let me see how easy it is to use. They can click a button, try it out without actually having to install it on their site, without actually.
Yeah.
And it really helps.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it really helps with like the whole free trial problem that comes along. with these plugins. Yeah.
That's one of the biggest use cases which we have, right? You should definitely try our Chrome extension. So we put a big launch button on every plugin or theme on WordPress repo. So if you go to any WordPress plugin or a theme, you will get a launch button and it will create a new site with that plugin in it, right? So, and with
Oh, it really is Insta.
That is cool.
It's like just spinning it up, spinning them up. I do think that I think that use case is shifting for what we're going to be using staging for. Like, so, do you want to say something? Yeah, go.
I'm just gonna say, I think there's one use case though that's not on the visual side, but more on the development side, and that's the concept of being able to have a new environment when you're pushing new features in. So in like Pantheon, they have a thing called multi-dev, which basically, you make a new branch and you can literally just create another environment that you can test that on. That, as far as I know, I've never seen that anywhere else. And so that's part of why with my main job, like we're on Pantheon, because we could do that type of feature. But InstaWP does that. So we can push things to there, spin up a new one, and we can see what's going on. So in my sense, I see it as like almost like if you're messing around with theme.json and you change it so drastically on a new branch that it's not going to be like the current site, you could, branch off a new one and spin it up there.
Tucker, take notes.
I'm taking notes. I'm recording this.
Okay.
Literally recording it. Yeah.
One thing I was going to mention too is I feel like there's a little disconnect right now too in the styling of FSE because
yes, let's
we
talk about
don't
styling,
have. Well, we don't have a way to get to that theme.json unless we're literally editing it. Like there's a lot of features in there.
Not user friendly. It's not there
for you. Yeah. So I know WP Engine's working on some type of generator editing environment, I guess, for it. I've seen that on Twitter. And there's a few other generators out there, like by Carolina Nymark and a few other folks. But
are they going to name it the configurator?
It's got to be it has to be something to do with cars, right? So it's got to be like the carburetor or something.
Yeah.
Why does it have to do something with cars?
Everything's cars with them. Torque.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
Frost. They scrape the frost right off of the windshield.
Because I don't care about cars at all. So I did not you just blew my mind by saying
light mode, dark mode. I mean, it's headlights. It's the whole thing. They just have a whole motif going.
I literally didn't even see it. And also, did they learn nothing from GoDaddy? Okay, sorry. At least they're subtler about it. They're not like banging us over the head with it. Anyway, so what do you, Vikas, what do you see coming up in terms of, obviously you're working on the site syncing that we were just talking about and content syncing, but like in terms of FSE, where do you feel the next, what needs to be the next big thing that needs to be dealt with in order to make it, smoother from what you're seeing in your feedback from people, both as a plugin developer and a theme developer and as a Insta person?
Right. We actually have a FSE theme called Gutena, and we offer, because we have a theme business in the backend for that BFSE world, and I think what will make FSE rule on other ways of doing website building is different kind of controls over it, right? As Daniel mentioned, control over theme.json, and having a bunch of nice, robust blocks on Gutenberg, right? Which people can just throw in, right? How they work on Elementor, right? It's a whole economy on its own. If we have that same going on with FSE, I think we will be there within 1 year or so. That's what my expectation is. Yeah.
1 year. What about you, Daniel?
I'm tinkering around on a project with a fellow WordPresser. It's all under wraps now, but it's a side project we're doing. But we're playing with FSE and trying to do it from the get-go. And I tell you, I found a bug in there of just the development of it. Like when you update the theme.json, it would get stuck in caching and wouldn't update unless you had WP debug turned on. And no one said that, not in the documents anywhere. It's in there now. And I also tweeted a whole thing on how to
Way
do
to
documentation.
contribute.
But yeah, first
Did you
contribution.
recorded it?
Yeah, yep, it's all in there. But it's that type of thing where like I think they're doing a great job making these tools, but somewhat is a disconnect as we're kind of playing around with this stuff. But I enjoy it. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see it kind of grow. But
There's
I
definitely
think
a
it's got
rush
a
to
little while.
market happening, I think, that's causing
Yeah.
that to break. Oh,
Yeah,
we're
and
over
that's
our
been with
time.
the
I
whole
can't talk
Gutenberg.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a whole other thing.
They are already late by a couple of years, right?
Yeah, just one or two.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to talk about this. I think we're learning a lot about what we can do with FSE, as well as what we can do with the solutions that are out there and what things we're hoping to get down the road.
And what's going to happen in the future?
Exactly.
Dun,
Well,
dun, dun.
Yeah.
You have a good rest of your day and night. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I will never do that again.
Podcast. We'd really appreciate it. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and you can watch us over on YouTube. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Or just Google WordPress's most influential podcast.